Okay, welcome to the next video. What we're going to be doing in this video is discussing basic file manipulation in Terminal. So, just as always, we're going to start up our favorite application and we're going to make it full screen and we're going to zoom in. So what I'm going to do, as always, is run the first two commands. These commands were covered quite heavily in the last video, pwd and ls. pwd, or print working directory, and ls allow us to see where we are and what's in the current folder. If you're not sure or not comfortable with these commands, please go back and watch the last video as well as practice them in Terminal as well. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to start creating files and folders and moving them around to get an idea of how to move files, copy files, delete files, basically basic file manipulation. This will come in quite handy when managing your work throughout the semesters and throughout the years and throughout your study at RMIT. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a folder. The command we use to make a folder is make directory, or mkdir. Make directory requires the name or the path of the folder you wish to create. It can either be an absolute path, i.e. one starting from root, /home, induction, test, or a relative path, test. Once we've created the folder, we can use ls to see the folders there, and then we can use cd to change directory into that folder. And again, pwd and ls just let us know where we are and what's there. Because we just created the directory, you may notice that ls has shown absolutely nothing when the command was run. In Unix, if a command completes successfully, there's no error and there's no success message. If a command errors, you'll get an error message generally printed to the screen. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to create a couple of folders for testing. The first one we're going to do is we'll use the mkdir command again, or make directory, mkdir, dir1, dir2. You'll notice I've specified two directory paths, or two directories here. In Unix, arguments, or the difference between arguments, is represented by a space. So if I want to make a folder called dir1 space dir2, what I will need to do is escape the space character, like so, or use quotation marks around the whole string. This will create a folder called dir1 space dir2. But what I want to do this time actually is create two different directories, one called dir1 and one called dir2. Enter. Run ls again to see if that worked, and we can see two folders, dir1 and dir2. And I'll just show you an example of creating a folder with a space. Make directory, new, folder, ls. And we can see there's a folder here called new folder. Okay, the next command I'm going to use is the touch command. Touch allows us to create empty files. This is great for just testing, as we're going to practice copying and moving files as well. So let's create two empty files. Just like the make directory command, we can specify multiple files in the same line. Touch, file1, file2, ls. So now we can see directory 1, directory 2, file1, file2, and new folder. What we're going to do now is we're going to practice the rm command. Rm, or remove, is a very, very useful command, but it also can be very dangerous. Do note in Unix and Linux systems, there is no undo, there is no go back. Every command you run is final, so please be very careful in the way you use these commands. Only use rm on files you are sure you wish to remove, and always check to make sure the file you are intending to remove is the correct file. So what I'm going to do now is rm space file1 and press enter. What we can see now, ls, is that file1 has been removed. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove new folder. Why? I just don't like new folder. rm, new folder. What's going to happen now is we're going to see an error message. This error message simply says rm cannot remove, new folder is a directory. So what this means is rm by itself cannot remove directories, so it needs an extra option or an extra setting that we're going to pass through it. The way we find out extra options or more information about a command is by using the man command. Man, or manual, allows us to find information about any command on a Unix system. So for example, man, then the command we wish to find information about, so rm. Enter. What we can see here is the title up the top left, the name of the command here, and a short description, so removes files or directories. What we can see here is a synopsis. The synopsis provides advanced structure of the command. Do not worry if you do not understand this at this point in time. It's something that requires experience. You will eventually understand it later on. So what you may notice here is that you can navigate this page by arrow keys, page up, page down, and in Unix and Linux, scrolling. So what we can see here is a description that provides usage of the command, and then we get down to a section known as options. Options change the way the command behaves very slightly. For example, if we scroll down to -R, we can see that with the -R option, RM is capable of removing directories. This is exactly what we want, and it's always good practice to get in the habit of using the manual pages, as it provides the first and best resource for finding information about a command. It is highly recommended in Unix and Linux that you do not run a command without fully understanding what it does or fully understanding what the options are. So to quit this, we can use Q, and if you wish for more help or more information, you can always use H. For now, I'm going to quit again by pressing Q. So now I know that RM space -R, which is recursive. Recursive means all files and folders in that directory, so everything below it is also removed. So do note that everything in that directory will also be removed. New / to escape the space and folder. What we can see now is that we didn't get an error message, everything completed successfully, and the RM command was able to remove new folder. That's fantastic. So now what we're going to do is we're going to practice the CP and the move command. CP is copy, so CP is copy. So what we can do here is CP file2, file1. You can also copy files into directories. So for example, CP file1 into dir1 / file1 ls. And we can see that it doesn't look like anything's changed yet. But if I do ls space the directory we just copied the file into, we can see that there is file1 located inside directory 1. You can use copy with relative and absolute paths to copy files to anywhere on the system. This is something the GUI does not allow you to do, as it only lets you work with the current folder, while the command line interface allows you to copy files or folders to anywhere on the system, whether it be a relative or absolute path. This allows you to work with multiple directories simultaneously and ultimately lets you work faster. Cool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work with or have a look at the move command. The move, as you may have guessed it, moves a file. So what I'm going to do here is move file2 to file3. Have a look at that. We can see file2 is now gone, and file2 has been moved to file3, and there is no longer a file2. So as you may have guessed, the main difference between copy is copy copies a file, while move will move a file. When you're using copy, both the source and the destination file will exist. When using move, the source file will no longer exist, but the destination file will exist. So what I'm going to do now is just work through a few examples just so you get the idea of how to move files and folders around the system. So for example, CP file3 to file2 creates a copies file3 to file2. MV file1 under dir2 will move file1 into the folder dir2. If I have a look in dir2, I can see that file1 has been moved to directory 2. ls again, we can see we've got dir1, dir2, file2, and file3. So by using these commands and combination of paths, you are able to move files all the way around the system to any folder at any time, as well as copy and back up your work. It is highly recommended that while you are studying at RMIT, you maintain regular backups. Most of our systems are backed up, but it is also your responsibility to back up and maintain a good copy of your work. So let's assume that we want to recursively copy a directory. That's a task that we may need to do for our degree. For example, back up this folder to another directory or location on the system. CP-R, remember from RM, -R was recursive, and then the directory we wish to copy, dir1, and then the location we wish to copy it to. So I'm going to copy it to /home induction, and I'm going to call this backup. Now you'll see we don't get any success message, but we didn't get an error message, so we can assume the command completed successfully. Now I'm going to navigate to /home induction, run ls, and we can see that the folder backup has been created. If I look inside backup, what you'll notice is you do not see dir1, you see file1. The reason for that is dir1 has changed names and is now known as backup. If we wish to put a folder inside a directory, we must put a / on the end. For example, move test dir2 into backup. And as you can see, I've got the / on the end. Without the /, that's basically saying I want you to replace the folder But with the slash, it's saying let's put it inside. Again, be very careful about what your command is running. These little differences can sometimes lead to loss of work. So it's very important to make sure you know where the files are coming from and you know where they're going. Enter. Let's have a look inside backup. We'll be able to see dir2 and file1. Okay, so this concludes this video on file manipulation and introduction to the manual pages. Again, the best resource and the most useful tool ever in the whole existence of Terminal is the manual. Please use it, highly encouraged. I know there's an impulse or a desire to use Google for the answer, but the more use of manual pages and the better understanding you get, the easier you'll find Terminal and the easier you'll find it to find information that you want. I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you for watching.